while I'm live and to come after it. Of course, welcome to I Am Luminescence. Be sure to thumbs up this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel as well. Hit the notification bell so you know exactly what time a new video has been dropped or when I go live. All right. So this week we're going to look at the astrology starting on February 17th, which is today. We're at the very last degree of Aquarius. All right. So I'm using astroseek.com for like the live current planetary feed. Okay, so I'm gonna just get right into it. This week, as you see the title, the swamp is being drained. We're gonna have 5 Pisces placements coming into. Hold on one second. Okay, we're gonna have 5 Pisces placements coming into this week after the sun shifts into Pisces. Right now, the sun and the moon are both at 29 degree of an air sign. So yeah, we this week there's no fire except for Chiron, and it's gonna be mostly water. Okay, this week. So we got the North Node and Neptune conjunct in Pisces, 28 degrees. Saturn in Pisces, 19 going to 20. Mercury, 6 degrees right now, going to about 17. We're going to end the week with Mercury and Mars stationing direct, trining at 17 degrees, and the Sun after its third quarter moon square. With the moon and Sag is going to square off. That's how we're going to end the week on Sunday. So right now we're still in Aquarius going into Pisces. The moon just went over Lilith in Libra, the mean Lilith. Now, one thing I did look up is within the last day, the moon opposed Chiron. And I'm using the astrology oracle deck, um, which I used earlier today in my live. This one right here. I read the book with the page that had the moon opposing in conjunct or square Chiron, and it talked about the mother moon. So, with the moon opposition to Chiron, the last 24 hours that we've kind of been able to process astrologically, it talked about how the mother wound was something that needed to be healed, but in evolution, we've been able to utilize that healing to be transparent and sharing our healing with other people. So, with that taking place between the moon being in Libra and Chiron being in Aries, it's like you automatically can sense and feel people's emotions a lot easier when it comes to relationships that they have emotionally on the emotional front, where the healing is taking place or has taken place or may need to still take place. But with 5 placements by Sunday, all in Pisces, like this is gonna be crazy. And the North Node is here as well. Okay. And then we had tomorrow, the moon is going to by this evening, of course, too. We're gonna start Pisces season off with a Scorpio moon. So we're gonna have Scorpio moon, Mars in Cancer at its detriment, with the moon also in its detriment in Scorpio. And then we're gonna have a 5-planet stellium in Pisces. Lots of water, lots of emotions, a lot of subconsciousness rising to the surface, lots of reflecting, lots of even isolating, like wanting to isolate. That's going to come up a lot more too. Pisces is very mutable in its energy, but at the same time, it requires isolation so it knows who itself is. And Pisces always feel the most isolated, even when it is in a group, just like Aquarius sometimes can, is because it's the closest energy that we can recognize to being to the all, the one great all, the supreme being, God, goddess, like that energy, because all is one and one is all, and Pisces energy understands that. So for us to have 5 planets going into Pisces as of this evening, and then a Scorpio moon, and then a Mars in Cancer, all water signs is activated this week. If you did not know what your psychic if you didn't know what your psychic gifts were, if you didn't understand what psychic power was, if you had no like inclination whatsoever of what you're able to tap into on a psychological level, now's the week where you're going to definitely be able to understand exactly what that is, because it's going to manifest itself. And with the Scorpio moon, it can definitely manifest itself through some very deep, dark emotions. And it may have to do with the mother wound that is being healed, especially with Mars in Cancer right now. There might be a lot of masculine dominant men who are recognizing what influence that the mother or the nurturing energy or women in general may have had on them and how they live their lives, especially if they chose a path where they were given that wound, that mother wound, or that female women wound to everyone, men and women included, instead of just dealing with it. You know what I'm saying? So this week is going to be a very important week for us on a psychological level, on a soul level. And it's definitely going to, especially with the third quarter square, is 10th house to the moon is going to be 10th house to the sun. So this is the world stage. The 10th house is the world stage, and it's in Sagittarius. So if you're tuned into what's going on the world stage right now, even if it is a little bit political and entertainment, you're going to start to see the quake or the shakeup, and the reason why things had to happen the way that they did when it comes to why someone is doing something or why they're not doing something. The reason, with the moon being in Sagittarius, the reason is going to be made more pronounced. And because it's a square, of course, this is going to cause some cognitive dissonance. That's expected to happen. But the fire moon being in Sagittarius is going to trine over to Venus, which is slowing down and prepping for her retrograde, as well as Chiron, 20 degrees, is going to trine that as well. So, and that's the healer. That's how we're made aware of what we need to heal, or us being a part of someone else's healing during that square, that third quarter moon square at the end of the week. So yeah, starting out this week with the shift into all this water. Yes, we can be very emotional. Yes, everyone is going to be more sensitive, but it's the fact that we're all going to be aware of this, and we're going to be tapping more into other people's energy a lot more, like, frequently, because it's going to be easier for you to do with all this Pisces energy and all the water trine energy overall. It's going to be easier to tap into other people's information. And that, with the Scorpio moon, can be a little bit it can make one feel very insecure, because if you're able to channel your psychic abilities in a way that you can tap into information that is not physically available to you, it it can make you feel a little bit vulnerable, to make sure no one else is doing that to you as well, which is why we have protection rituals, right? And Scorpio is very protective. A Scorpio moon to me is very true Scorpio energy, because the moon is about what's hidden and through phases being illuminated. And Scorpio is also about what's being hidden in a dark truth that no one likes to hear but has to actually be said. So during this Scorpio moon, which can last up until Wednesday, depending on where you are in the world, That's how long we're going to be feeling that Scorpio moon energy. It's going to be a lot of things that gets unearthed that we probably don't want to hear, or we probably felt like maybe it was okay for us to not know that. But it forces you to transform. It forces you to explore the subconscious or someone's psychology. And then also wanting to point out that the moon will move into Sagittarius. And by, let's see, February 20th, um, about 3:45 p.m., we definitely will be into that third quarter moon square, where there's going to be a cognitive dissonance. It's going to be a lot of stuff on the world stage that a lot of people don't want to talk about. It could very much be a Pisces involved, but I feel like there's a lot of information that's going to come out as to the reason why someone did something. This person could be a Sagittarius as well. They could be a November Sag. Um, yeah, it could be a November Sagittarius, or it could be something that happened in November itself that was hidden or closed up. But Sagittarius represents, the legal system, like the legislation, the courts. That taps into Sagittarius energy. So there could be some important information regarding a court hearing that needs to be made public knowledge, or just will be made public knowledge, that's going to rattle a lot of people's belief systems. And it doesn't have to be in a bad or a negative way if you're trying to hold a fixed idea about what you think is right or wrong. If you think something is supposed to be one way or another, then you're going to experience the cognitive dissonance because you're not allowing things to flow. Pisces has to allow things to flow, especially with Saturn being here. You ain't going to have no other option than to allow things to flow. And there's a separation of that trine between Mars and Saturn at this time. But Mercury is going to catch up to Mars as it stations direct. Really? So with the moon, it is going to oppose Jupiter first. So that's that information being exchanged between Jupiter and the moon. One is, of course, a known benefic, and Gemini represents information, learning. And then the moon being in Sagittarius, the moon is hidden information being revealed on a subconscious level. But in a fire sign like Sagittarius, in the worldly sign that is ruled by Jupiter as well, everyone is going to know something that they didn't know before. And if you're still tied to old belief system of what right or wrong should be, instead of paying attention to what the energy or the flow of the universe is trying to get people to wake up and understand, then you're going to get caught up in this swamp being cleansed and cleared out. And I don't say the swamp being cleansed as far as like the presidential thing is going, because that is its own theme, but it's still astrologically, spiritually, it's still a piece that we should pay attention to, because this is something that's still happening even on a level in our lives, whether we want to admit it or not. There's new information that can change us and our paths and how we move forward, that we need to allow into our repertoire. Jupiter is at 11 degrees Gemini and is going to zoom through the rest of the beginning of the year into the summer, where it's going to shift into Cancer for its 13-month journey. So, during the rest of the Jupiter moving forward from now until the beginning of July, there's going to be a lot of information that we need to move forward. And with this Pisces stellium, it's going to square each and every part of the Pisces. Is going to square as well all the information that is within Virgo, and the South Node is in Virgo. All right. So we can definitely look forward after this third quarter moon begins at 3 degrees. from that point moving forward, the moon is going to oppose Jupiter, and that's where the information is going to spill out. That's when we're going to start finding out information about things happening illegally that should have never taken place. And although that has been the theme for the last few weeks, a lot of people have been against this flow of information, or they've been against what's the changes are that are taking place. But you still will never be able to deny the fact that it has to happen. You can't deny the fact that it needs to happen. So moving forward, um, on the 22nd, when the moon is at the tail end of Sagittarius, it's going to square the nodes. It's going to create a T square between the nodes. And the way out is going to be Gemini, because it's not at 28 degrees just yet. But Jupiter is in Gemini, so there's some type of energy there. However, with this T square, of course, T squares create tension. Okay. So you got an opposition, of course, with the nodes, and then they're both hitting the moon 28. So you got 328 degrees, as well as the conjunction with Neptune in the north node. So that's two energies combined, opposing, of course, the south node, but then they both are hitting, making a triangle to the moon at 28 Sagittarius. And basically, what I was seeing with this square with the north node and the moon is, again, us being able to, can we accept the reason why something took so long? Can we accept the reason why things have changed? Because this is giving me like the Eight of Wands energy, where it's like the swords, the wands are like flying across land and sea. So there could be some long distance communication, or this may have to do with what's been taking place in the sky and some recent updates on, flight arrangements. This can also, again, have to do with spiritually, because Sagittarius fire relates to the spirit, communication. Okay. There's communication that is coming to us from overseas on the political or governmental front, and this is also us being able to communicate with spirits around us that we cannot see. We're going to be able to tap deeper into those psychic gifts that we have, that with the South Node in Virgo will not make sense to the human mind, and it is not going to be logical. But with Neptune being the spiritual guidance with the North Node, that's where we're going to want to put our focus. That's where we're going to want to put things into perspective, is if spiritually, are we resonating with this, or spiritually, are we not resonating with this? And the third quarter moon square is helping us to see that intuitively we've been on a different frequency than the path that we've been on. And we already did the shift. One second. On one hand, we've already done the shift. But on the second hand, physically, we haven't seen the shift taking place yet. So there may still be doubt. There still may be the question of, why is this going on? What is the reason for this? And it's because we've been able to awaken to higher levels of magic, higher levels of tapping into source, higher levels of psychic abilities. And everyone has been talking about these superpowers and all that stuff. We've always had the power. With the earth resonance being the way that it was the last couple weeks, that's another form of activation that's been taking place for the last few years as well. It's like, if you don't pay attention to, the thoughts that you have, or your intuitive nudges, then you're going to be thinking everyone else is crazy because they're doing it and you're not. Don't get left behind now. Don't be left behind. Okay, there's a lot of information that a lot of people are about to be searching for, and if you are, a spiritual guidance for, a community, or just for even for a few people in your community, that's going to be more than enough to sustain you as well as the community that you are teaching and sharing information and knowledge with. Okay, Sagittarius energy has to do with, religion as well, philosophy. And this could be a time when people's faith they feel like their faith system has failed them, or their religion has failed them, and they're going to start looking for more spiritual guidance from other spiritual sources than a church, than a synagogue, than a temple. They're going to start looking outside of the rules of how they're supposed to engage with God, because they're not resonating with that frequency anymore. And most of it can be because, politically they see things differently than most people, and they want to know, why would God allow this to happen? But even if that's the doorway that they can walk, they allow themselves to walk through, the door still has to open some way or another. So if it's going to be because, they don't like how an election took place, or they don't like how people are judging another person. Excuse me. You can't be over here. So we can definitely see this take place firsthand with our own belief system. There might be old belief systems we used to have, or religious practices we used to have, that just don't work for us anymore. And it's now time for people to start realizing you have to create your own religious system. You got to create your own philosophy. And there is no such thing as good and bad. It's very relative, it's subjective. It depends on the circumstances, situation of you and your perspective. Um, and that might break a lot of hearts. That might break a lot of minds in half. That would definitely create mental or cognitive dissonance, because a lot of people don't want to be aware. They don't, because that means that they got to be responsible. And responsibility, for a lot of people, they try to escape Saturn Pisces. It's a lot of responsibilities people are trying to escape, but they're not going to be able to anymore. Okay, so Mars um will go station direct on the 23rd, on Sunday. The moon will be in Capricorn as well during this time. Saturn will be at 20. Okay, Mercury and Mars being in a trine at 17 degrees definitely, to me, is reading that when it goes station direct as well. That definitely is reading to me that our, especially if you have knee problems, pay attention, because they might start to heal after this date. If you have issues with arthritis in your knees, ligaments, joints, you might find a way to heal it, or you might find a way to soothe it that actually works for a time being before you find like a cure or something. But this is going to be a time where communication with the outer worlds, or the invisible world, with the physical world, is going to seem easier for those who are tapped in. Is if you're a medium, which a lot of people who, claim themselves to be Black are naturally gifted mediums. A lot of people who may be POC are naturally gifted mediums. So the way that you can utilize that gift is going to be easier for you now with all this Pisces energy. This Pisces stellium is going to make it easier for you. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared. Okay. A lot of people are starting to also go through having sleep paralysis. Sleep paralysis is a test to see if you are mentally strong enough to withstand whatever scare tactic your spirit guides have for you, because they want to know, are you sure this is what you want to do? Because it's part of your purpose, yes. But at the same time, they're not going to do something to ruin you. That's not what they're here for. Okay. So this is going to be an opportunity for us to tap deeper into our gifts, find new gifts that have been being unlocked recently with the North Node being in Pisces. But we're also going to be able to collectively tune into other people's energy very, very easily. So it's very important, especially with the Scorpio moon coming through starting tonight until Wednesday, to create barriers, create boundaries, spiritual boundaries, more protection, rituals. Okay. And your protection rituals give your ancestors and other creatures who have soul affinity with you, that gives them energy to work with in your defense. And it's not saying that they can't protect you or defend you if you don't do protection work for yourself, but it does increase the potency because you've already laid the foundation for them to work with. They're not just pulling, especially if you don't give them anything, they're pulling on energy and they already got work to do on the other side as well. So they can't draw from nothing. You have to give them something, in order for them to work for you. And a lot of people are afraid of that and they feel scared about that, but it's nothing to be afraid of. You know what I'm saying? It's an energy exchange. Okay. That's all it is an energy exchange. Everybody got to do something for everyone, will do something for something. And your ancestors are no different. Okay. This is their job, but we got to work together, physical and non-physical, or physical and metaphysical, I should say. And we see less than 1% of the actual light that is here. And with Pisces stellium, everyone is going to start seeing things that they never seen before. Everyone is going to start changing their belief system because of it. Because no church or no Bible thumper is going to be able to explain based on their narrow religious views what's taking place right now. So people who are really about that life, that spiritual, like people who are really about the psychic ability life are going to thrive now. We're going to start seeing ourselves thrive the more that this energy increases. Is those people who think that spirituality or knowing astrology, doing spell work and things of that nature, that uses this like it's a jacket that you put on and take off during this North Node Pisces energy. They're going to go running scared if they are really not about this life. They're going to be terrified and want to run back to religion, and then only to find that religion can't save you. That's why the swamp is being drained. Religion or old fashioned ways of mind manipulation and mental prisons, mind control is not going to work anymore. It's not going to soothe you when you see a spirit. It's not going to soothe you when you hear your clairaudience turned all the way up. It's not going to soothe you anymore. It's not. You're just going to have to find that God link in yourself and use it. Allow it, surrender to it, allow it to guide you instead of being afraid of it. Because it's a lot of people out here who do tarot and all this thing and be like, you don't have to do this and you don't have to do that. And it's even people who go to church who read tarot, who channel messages and stuff like that. And it's nothing wrong with that. It's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But when the moment comes where it get a little bit deeper for you, it gets a little bit more real for you, are you going to still maintain that stance, or are you going to fold like a chair or a napkin because you're afraid, because now you're looking for something outside of you to protect you when you sit here preaching the whole time that it was within you? So are you living your word? Are you going to walk away from your platform? Because there's been a lot of people doing that recently too in the last few years. People who've read tarot and stuff like that, they've been denouncing it, denouncing astrology, denouncing it as a pseudoscience, and in turn they're going back to church. And it's like, you don't have to denounce the truth just because you went back to church. Just say you was scared. You got to a point in your journey where you were terrified and you felt called to go back to church or whatever, religious system that you were being trained and taught in before. Because even if you do that, they still don't divide you from the fact that that was a true experience, spiritual experience that you had. It doesn't eliminate it. You're just looking for a band-aid to make you feel better for breaking a rule that religion put into your head that was not supposed to be broken. Then you got us out here who always looked at that religious system as a box to get out of because it was a game. It was always just a game that we have the ability to beat and win. and walk away from and never have to return to again, because it didn't serve any purpose other than giving us a stepping stone to where the truth really lies. And Pisces is belief. It doesn't require anything physical, it's what you feel. And when you feel that higher power energy surrounding you, in you and surrounding you, you will never have to make logic South Node Virgo out of it. You don't have to, because you already know it's something higher than you could explain that makes sense. But it's intuitively. It's not logic. It's always intuitively. And that's the thing that's going to scare a lot of people to run back to a religious sect or an organized religion in itself, because it's going to get a little bit too real for them and they're not going to be able to take it. And all this time that they thought that they were, high and mighty, or they was actually doing something for the collective, by they were doing something for the collective, but they was just playing a role. They wasn't really about this life for real. They thought it was a t-shirt or a jacket or a cute, bob that they can shape themselves into. And then they never had to really own up to the decision that they made. They never wanted to be accountable for that decision that they made. Ma'am. So, yeah, this week it's time for you to drain your swamp. And what that phrase really meant was that all the fakes, the phonies, the thieves, the people who do harm against humanity, those people who front about who they are and glamorize a lifestyle that they never truly lived, but only talked about because it gained them an ounce of attention that they severely lacked in their upbringing as a child. Those people are being drained from your energy. So pay attention when the rope is being pulled from you, and let go. Let them go. Let it all go. That's the whole purpose of this transit with all this Pisces energy, is for us to tap deeper into who we are on a soul level. So, soulfully speaking, this is going to be a great transitional with this moon Scorpio, a great transition into being more soul aware, soul aware of ourselves that we've never been before, but in a more invisible sense. Our dreams are going to be more intense. How we speak to spirit is going to be more intense. How we connect with each other is going to be more intense, because now those barriers that we may have had in the past, especially with that mother womb being brought up yesterday into today with the moon opposite Chiron, there may have been very visible wounds that we were able to see from each other, but we didn't know what it was. We couldn't really put our finger on it. Now it's going to be so prominent in our energetic fields, in our auric field, to each other, that we are not going to deny the feelings that we have anymore. We're not going to deny our intuition anymore. We're not going to deny our intuition anymore. So let that be a lesson moving forward as well. As we go further into Pisces season, we are going to be well equipped to deal with the psychological warfare that is upon us right now. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype. Don't take anything at face value. And most importantly, believe yourself, your inner voice, more than you believe what anyone else has to say. And that doesn't mean you can't take advice from the right guidance system. But even when you do take advice from the right people, you still got to be the one to make the decision yourself. So please, please, please let this week listen to your intuition. Listen to your intuition this week, because it's going to be raging loud and it's going to be wanting you to listen to it. And first, it might start off real slow. It might start off real slow like this. And then eventually it's going to get louder. And the more you listen, it's going to get louder. And the more you listen, it's going to get louder. So listen to your intuition this week. When it says that something is dead and done, it's dead and done. Okay? It's dead and done. So let it go. It's time for something new. All right? Prepare for the new moon in Pisces. Prepare for the new moon in Pisces that is coming up in a couple weeks. This week is the third quarter square, so next week will be the new moon in Pisces on the 26th, I believe. So look at wherever you have Pisces in your chart. Just know there's going to be a heavy amount of energy there that is going to make you feel a bit frustrated, but it's to push you to grow spiritually. Trust spiritually. Know that you're closer to the divine power more than ever when you have a lot of Pisces energy at hand. Okay. So I'm going to leave it there because clearly the real star of the show is behind the camera. All right. Thank you so much for tuning into this message. I hope it helps you this week to stay aware and stay awake. And be sure to remind yourself the universe is always guiding you. You are your universe. Universe. You in the verse. Universe. Your version of what you see reality is you. Okay? So remember, the universe is always guiding you. So stay aligned, stay radiant. And until next time, peace.